3 presentation which are also very interesting. So, if everyone has settled, may I call our new speaker, Mr. Rajesh Kumar. And Mr. Rajesh Kumar is ex-GAIL and graduated from Motilal Regional Engineering College, Allahabad, a very prestigious college, in electrical engineering. Wow, 3 electrical engineer on the dais. Served GAIL India Limited for 35 years and associated with various GAIL projects, O&M petrochemical plants, also worked with Bhagyanagar Gas Limited for 3 years, and now I think he is with Shub Traders. May I call Rajesh, please? And his topic for presentation is new variable compressors. Rajesh, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I thank NGS for giving us opportunity for giving us this presentation. And this presentation is regarding the compressors which is being dealt by Shub Group. First, I will give the brief introduction of Shub Group. Shub Group is a group of companies naming Shub Traders Private Limited, Shub Exim, Net Shub Technology Private Limited, Delta Shub Compressors, SSK Advisors LLP, and Shub Techno Services Private Limited. Shub Group is the authorized representative of CNG compressors, CNG dispensers, LNG stations, mini LNG plants, mass flow meters, gas detectors, flame detectors, SS and MDP valves and fittings. They are representing ASPRO, AVAC, PCA, Endurance and SITS. Shub Group have long exposure in dealing with CNG compressor dispensers and pipe fitting for CNG gas distribution. They are authorized representative of following foreign vendors: Delta Compression, SRL Argentina. They are dealing with CNG variable and online compressors, integrated compressor packages, 3-in-1 and low flow compressors. Second is Endurance China. They are dealing with hydraulic booster compressors, CNG dispensers, mass flow meter, LNG and LCNG stations, equipment, ISO tanks, etc. Apart from that, they are dealing with ABAC SRL Argentina, SS valve and fittings, SITS Switzerland, solenoid valves for CNG application, PSA Australia, MDP fittings and MDP valves. First, I will talk about these variable compressors of Delta Compression SRL. This is a variable compressor having 2 functions in the same system, that is booster as well as standard compressor. It can be used as online as well as a booster compressor. ASPRO is the brand name, and ASPRO developed this new system of advanced technology to reduce the cost at stations where pipeline do not exist, joining the function of booster compressor with those of a standard gas compressor in this work, concentrating everything in only one compressor. First, we can use it as transport unit. For this suction pressure, this pressure is from 250 bar to 14 bar, optimizing consumption of energy and reducing operative cost. When pressure makes a vibration, the compressor adopts itself automatically. Next, we can use it as online compressor. It is easy to set up, and without need to install a new compressor, it is possible to use the same system. Advantage: 2 function in same system, It can be supplied from transport unit as well as from gas pipeline. Easy installation, high performance. Entry of variable gas pressure is automatic from 250 bar to 14 bar. Simple setup, reuse of calorific energy and saving of energy consumption due to dedicated priority panel. These are the data sheet for 3 models. This is 73 dB, 74 dB and 115. This compressor rating is 75/90 kilowatt, and for gas transport unit suction pressure is from 14 to 250 bar, and for gas pipeline it is 12 to 19 bar. Weight is 3000 kg, and for 115 it is 4600 kg. And these are the capacity for gas transport unit and gas pipeline. For gas pipeline it is 600 and 1000, and for transport unit 7 and 10 1300. This is adaptability and machine in the same system. And the next model is the 3-in-1 unit of delta compressor. Advantage of this is compressor, storage, control panel and dispenser in the same unit. All the function in the same unit, allowing compressor to store and deliver CNG in a rapid, efficient, safe way. It is possible to extend its capacity, adding new unit in a modular, independent way, and to add more external storage. SCA 50 model S Pro series equipment is made up of mainly a horizontal reciprocating compressor of 2, 3, and 4 and 5 compression stages, driven by electric motor and direct transmission system. There are 2 models, same as one is booster and second is online compressor. These are the pictures of 2 models. And we can use it in various way. Suppose we need compressor, control panel, storage, enclosure, dispenser, then size is this. If we don't want dispenser, then size, these are the data sheets. This is the booster model, and in the same way these are the measurements of size. These are the internal components of 2 compressors. This is for online compressor, and next is for booster compressor. These model can be used for companies with own vehicle fleets, small cities or municipality, low volume sale station, increase the sale capacity of fueling station, because this model is available on 250 SCMH. Benefit: easy installation and startup, simple functioning, small size. Cost benefit: low vibration level, increase the sale capacity of existing station. This power rating of these compressors are around 37 kilowatt. Main features of 2 models. This is for gas, pressure varies from 25 to 50, and for booster 7 to 19 bar, and for booster it is 250 bar to 25 and 250 bar to 7 bar. Next is low flow compressor. These are the compressors which can be installed in a very small place. It needs around 1.5 meter to 1.5 meter and 1.5 meter. Weight is around 2000 kg, and it can be used for 4 bar to 40 bar inlet. And capacity is around 500 SCMH. These are picture of views. Next is hydraulic compressor from Endurance, China. These are the models and capacity. Actually, advantage of this compressor is that we can get high capacity in low power consumption. In 22 kilowatt, we can get 500, and 30 kilowatt 700, 37 kilowatt 850, and 40 kilowatt 1000, 55 kilowatt 1200, and 75 kilowatt 1500, 90 kilowatt to 2000. Okay, these are the various compressors which can be supplied through Shub Group for CNG application. Thank you. Question.
Any questions?
Yeah, already installed. Yeah. Four stage.
So you can tell where it is already operating, so they can take the inputs.
It is in IGL, 3 in 1.
Which place?
Place, I don't know. Which place, sir?
Sarojini Nagar se to I think it has been shifted to some other place, no? Okay. All same size?
One is already working in Keshapur depot. Another two is already commissioned in Rohini area. So it will be start operation soon in this week. And one is in opposite of the Apollo hospital.
Bhandari, when you are choosing such type of compressor, particularly I know one was already installed that time in Sarojini Nagar near to the Gale office and all that. Now, what sort of a criteria you consider that I should go really for this size of compressor? Because again, space is one of the advantage, of course.
Basically, the size of the plot which is available to you, that is the main consideration. At Keshapur depot, it is a hybrid plot. So basically, out of DTC, a particular area has been carved out. In that particular place, we have put this particular this. So basically, it depends upon the availability of the plot space.
But then you are able to use this compressor for buses also, or it is only the car and all? Bus also are you filling?
It is possible, but not desirable. In the sense, the capacity is 250 SCMH. So for 250 SCMH, you can at the most operate 2 arms. In case you put a bus, then the second arm cannot be utilized. Only bus would keep on filling. So it's a choice. You can have it, but optimum would be car and auto. So probably a retail outlet where there are space constraints and a main line which is available nearby, there you can install it. That would be the best place.
All the 6 compressor which you have installed is having the inlet pressure 19 bar, or you have gone to 4 bar also?
No, sir. Till now 19 bar.
All 19.
All 19.
Area required is 10 meter by 10 meter. From the station, you require the area smallest 10 meter into 10 meter. It doesn't require the compressor area. You can put it on the dispenser bay area.
But even if it is a 4 stage, once you want to operate on the MDP pipeline and all, so the size remain the same or it will increase?
Size would remain the same. The capacity would reduce.
Or it will come down?
Capacity would reduce. Size would remain the same.
Any question, please?
Working hours can be increased in this case. And if you need more, you can add one more.
Basically, retail outlets have a power limitation as well as size limitation. both of them can be overcome with this particular compressor, where you have a, say, online pipeline nearby. So this is a low cost solution where you have dispenser cascade as well as the compressor integrated. So you just need to put it there and start the station. So fast way you can keep on, you will have a new station within no time.
Uh, I have a question that you have shown 2-3 models and 2-3 types of compressor. Do I have PESO approval for all of them or it is awaited?
Yes, PESO approval is
Because I think that's a big hurdle for anybody to consider.
It is that earlier it was not in the this PESO book, but now it is already.
No, that's for what IGL is using now. PESO approval is there. For all others.
Sir, integrated compressors are now part of that gas cylinder rules.
Achha.
So basically for getting a PESO approval, you just need to say your electrical components are as per the requirement. Once you submit it, you will get a approval for whatever models
Okay.
which have this.
I mean, that should not be hurdle for anybody to consider such kind of product. Otherwise, it get delayed.
We have got 5 years approval from PESO. Earlier we had 1 year, now it is 5 years from this year.
No, but his question is, Kochar sir, once the compressor which was purchased, IGL for long back, and then for a few years it was not having permissions or approval from the PESO. So a particular that size is already approved, but other sizes you have shown many variants. All are approved now?
All sizes are approved.
Okay, okay.
We have made it that all the sizes included in that PESO. And in dispenser, weight and measure also.
Okay.
I want audience to appreciate. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you. Next presentation is by Mr. Surya Prakash from Samriddhi Infotech. And Mr. Surya Prakash, a Bachelor of Computer Application and MBA, is a co-founder of Samriddhi Infotech. It is a startup primarily focused on integrated enterprise application for planning and management of natural gas resources, utility, infrastructure, and urban development. So I welcome Surya Prakash and request him to start his presentation.
Hi everyone. I think it's been a good learning experience for me, and this is my first kind of at this event. And for the first time, we have good O&M kind of crowd. So since yesterday, I've been patiently listening to a lot of knowledge. Usually, it's more of marketing talks and otherwise. So my presentation is on enterprise GIS, and GIS basically is geographic information system. A lot of people relate it to purely maps, but over a period of time, we see how technology is kind of transforming businesses. And if you look at a good bunch of successes, the entire business model is kind of backed by a map, right? And especially in the kind of domain of, let's say, logistics or anything that is large scale, large footprint, a lot of coordination is required in those cases. So that's when we look at any distribution business without maps, I mean, virtually I can't imagine a model like that. And when we are looking at distribution, this is typically B2C. So in a business to customer, you have all kinds of SLA, turnaround times, efficiency, automation, optimization. These words can start to make a lot more sense as compared to a cross country or other businesses. So looking at that, we basically, so we have been working on GIS for the last 10 years. We were actively with oil and gas, and for last 5 years, I think we have been entered into city gas. City gas, we started with PNGRB, IGL, MNGL, and now we're getting into others. So it's been a good amount of learning because essentially GIS is just a platform, and what we do is we take processes and SOPs and the workflows from the domain. So let's say in this case it's utilities city gas, and then try to integrate, incorporate in our GIS system, and that's how it brings the science of where or maps to decision makers. So this is precisely what we do. We take geospatial plus business intelligence. So geo basically meaning the map part, spatial meaning photogrammetry and other lidar or let's say drone data or other means of spatial data. And then business intelligence meaning your workflows, your SAP data, your incident reporting, or what is the process by which it gets registered, and then who initiates, etc., those kind of things. And that's how it becomes into a holistic system. As we proceed, you'll get a sense of live applications. Now here, one thing is important is that we have seen ninth round, 10th round of bidding, and there is, I mean, mostly I see people dotting out on Google Maps, right? Now the GA maps, if you try to superimpose on a Google map, most likely you will not have the boundaries match because again there is a science to it. The map was prepared in certain scale and with a certain background, right? Be it Bing, Esri, Survey of India, or whatever it is. Now that same scale and that same data only can match. Otherwise, if you try to overlay on some other, it might not, and that is creating a lot of confusion. And we are because we have worked with PNGRB on the maps part. We are kind of helping them answer those queries. Now this is where data matters, because if you are using Google or Bing or any other, it is not really accepted. The only accepted is actually Survey of India. Now when you actually take Survey of India map, then it has to be somebody who has a GIS domain expertise and knowledge. And looking at the GA maps produced, I mean, of course, the bidding and all that has already taken place. But if you look at the GA map, it does not have information. I mean, to my opinion, because it's just indicative kind of boundary which says so and so square kilometers. It says so and so population and so number of household. That so and so population is not your market potential. That so and so household may not be your market potential again, because maybe it's slums and all that included. So that data needs to be deciphered further. Likewise, if you look at the maps itself, Survey of India's data set 1 and data set 2 will not match. So those kind of challenges are there. That's why there are experts in this domain who deal with this, and that's why it's a value add for your business to be. Skip this part. This is what we have been doing for the last 5 years. Now, traditionally, we have been seeing GIS, and GIS has existed for about 100 years now. And in India, there's a lot of hype in the last 10 years, especially the buzzwords smart city, smart utility, all these are getting kind of integrated. And every, like I said, every large operation or logistics, etc., it has a geography built into it, and that's why geospatial matters. But traditionally, it's been locked onto systems, that is individual machines and individual domain experts who will be using that kind of piece of software or that knowledge, or so to speak. So it's a locked information. So I think to my left, there's the traditional. So basically, after putting in so much of information and capex opex, you basically are restricting it to one department or individual. Whereas what we are trying to do is we are trying to democratize that data, right? And when that follows an enterprise level, that means that same map and the satellite image or the raw data that is combined together is being utilized with the HSE team also, the operations also, the business planning, the CRM and others. So that way you're finding multi-purpose use cases and the ROI is realized. Why? Because it's purely our application is more of web-based. And now we're coming up with a SaaS-based approach, so that entities who are recently kind of getting started, they don't have much cost to incur on the GIS part. So that's a low budget offering. Like I said, in the last 10 years, what has also changed the game is, I have a interesting last slide which compares Gujarat Gas 15 years and IGL's 3 years. What has changed in the last 5-10 years is that technology has also kind of drastically come out of our PCs to the handheld or phone. The handheld devices which used to run GS application or other specialized app 10 years back used to cost a bomb. Now, even a 6,000 kind of rupees Android device replaces your VTS virtually if you use the new applications. And that also runs your GS applications. So, all our Paytms and Ubers, Olas are running on 6,000. So, in the last 5 years, anybody who has really adopted a technological transformation, it has actually cost them less and they have actually been able to transform more as compared to somebody who opted for that same technological transformation in, let's say, 2001, 2003, something like that. So this is a big thing in terms of mobility, in terms of taking maps to the field, being able to report what the construction is happening, being able to report what the incident is happening, and that seamlessly travels to the central GIS system, and that system or dashboard is being accessed by your vice president and MDs and directors, where they're able to make those decisions. So that is a big sea change. Now coming to GIS and utilities. So typically from the bidding stage, the business starts with a map. When you're doing a due diligence, you're adding more data or more input to that map. When you have got the bid kind of awarded to you, then you pass it on to some engineers to do DPR, DFR, engineering, construction. There's a lot of data that goes from planning to your construction and finally operations. But by the time it is operational, I have visited some 20 odd entities by now, and there is very little data that actually is captured and left for the operations to fall back on. So usually people get transferred, usually the data gets deciphered or something like this. Why? Because there's an absence of a system to kind of incorporate that data. If you look at SAP, it has those holders for data and etc. So that's why irrespective of who moves where, there is a method and mechanism and SOP in place to capture all kinds of data. In the maps case, a geographic information system is precisely the system, except not many people want to invest in a system like this at the early stage, right? So what happens is when you have gone from planning to operations, now your O&M activities are kind of they have to detect where the valve is supposedly. So the assets and asset maps are not really readily available. So then you are left with CAD drawings or PDFs, which then needs to be digitized, or you actually run a extra cost of a survey. So typically in companies like Oil India or let's say GAIL or ONGC, that is understood because if the pipeline was laid by East India Company, the data was lost. That's okay. But if there's a pipeline which has been laid in the last 10 years and the data is not available, that is something which we need to think about. So that's why right from day one, if the data is being captured, it can be organized, archived in a proper manner. And just to give you a kind of ballpark figure, the cost of implementing GIS would be 3 crores, and the cost of surveying an asset like Delhi NCR would run into 20 plus crores. So that's the that's just a justification for having the need to enforce data archival and retrieval, so that the other people from planning, when it moves to operation to disaster management, can retrieve the data and make sense of it. The last leg is response. So when we have a disaster, that's when it's most critical. We want to know what's the where exactly is the location, what is the dia, what is the pressure, what is the population density around that area, and then of course you add atmospheric wind direction, etc., to get a sense of how this will expand or play out. So it's all in the beginning. If you have captured the data and over a period, if you have people who have proceeded after you are also capturing onto the same system, then you have a robust system. So what I'm trying to say all along is something like this. So over a period, from your planning to engineering to construction, you will have something like this. Digital property, I'll decipher this little more going forward. So then, what is GIS and why GIS? Because the point I was trying to mention is that using Google Maps, of course, day to day it's easy to use, and that's why we use it. But firstly, the data is not reliable because the satellite imagery that you refer to on Google may be at least 2 to 4 years old or 10 years old in some cases. Also, the jurisdiction what Google shows is actually more of crowdsourced data. So let's say if I go and mark IGL's office as Surya's house, and 10 others vote after me, it might take that into consideration. So if you are trying to get into a legal battle or let's say argument for the regulator, then you have to use Survey of India data and verify to that. You cannot quote Google and otherwise, right? So this has happened historically that the planners have used free data and laid a line, and then later the project gets stuck in some clearance or some population rehabilitation, etc., etc. Whereas there is a provision of ordering a satellite imagery by which you get it from ISRO, of course, and you get a baseline before commencing a steel line project or infrastructure, whatever. So that basically helps you prevent for any future mitigation, right? So when you have a baseline, you can document it, and it's actually admissible in court. And based on this, of course, you add survey of data, jurisdiction boundary, etc., etc. I'll come to some examples here again. I don't know if I have it. Okay, I'll come back. We'll come back to that. So, how does GIS works? So, first part is the maps part, which everybody understands, but within maps, there can be hundreds of kinds of maps, right? So, for one, you'll have a map which is Survey of India, boundaries of talukas, district, etc., etc., with the crossings, highways, railways, etc. And then you bring in your peer group utilities. For example, Dakshin Haryana Vidut Vitran, or let's say Delhi Electricity Board, you bring in water. So you have water. Then when you lay multiple of those, then you basically are able to see a much clearer picture and maybe to some extent mitigate your risk. Then within that, when you have data, we are talking about existing systems. So let's say if you have a SAP system, if you have a VTS, if you have a MR, or if you have a SCADA, and other systems which are existent, which have their own domain use cases. So we can bring in data from those systems to a GIS system, and from GIS system the data can flow to them. These are kind of all established systems, and we have tried and tested and implemented in both the entities MNGL as well as IGL. And the engine is actually powered by SRE, which is a US based MNC. They've been there for 100 years, of course 5,000 plus clients implementing that. Then we put in analysis. Analysis is basically what we capture is BRS, so business requirements. So if I go and sit with the city gas operator, there are some 1820 standards, standard workflows which are being used, let's say in IGL or MNGL, and if he wants to add 2 or 4 extra processes, I want to do this better. So that's when we put it all together, and then that forms part of the query or analysis which gets integrated into the system. And then finally, after all this legwork, the end result is in the form of web or mobile apps, which basically are user friendly so that the end user can use it. The whole sense is trying to put together a common operating picture so that from your decision makers to the field to other departments, everybody sees the same picture. Basically helps you plan, coordinate, navigate to sites. Of course, navigation we have been using with Google, but our own asset information we may not want to put it on Google. But if you have your internal Google in a way, so irrespective of a person relocates from site A to site B, navigation or knowing where these assets are located is easy. Skip all this. So this is the part I was trying to share, mitigation feedback. So here, if the data if you have an existing GIS system, then to simulate an incident response, let's say if there has been a leak, then you know the dia, you know the pressure, and you're able to kind of do a simulation of how this will expand, and whether if there is a population, how much of evacuation, where the muster zone, etc., etc. So this is the standard web applications, wherein since all those data is captured and fed into the system, that's why you're able to query it based on BP, boundary, valve, TF, regulator, fitting, whatever. That's navigation. These are some of the base maps which come as a, and you can add to this. So let's say if you bought a satellite imagery in 2016, now you're buying a new one in 2010. So those layers can also be added. If you bought a survey of India in 2010, 2020, it will be separate. So those as layers can be added to the system. These are the detailing in terms of a data model or a schema that we have designed for the GIS. All these parameters and data related to these are fed into the system. So that's how you're able to locate. And the from the TF, the BPs are married with that. So that's why when you search for a TF here, you actually are pointed to a location like a BP, like a TF location, and from TF, when you click on any customer ID number, the details for that customer flows from SAP. So this is just an integration. Beyond this, the users and etc., all those can be further integrated. Skip this. So this is just a comparison of how IGL has actually benefited from the changing technological landscape. So we started off in somewhere around 2018, and while we were getting started, much of the things were in our favor. For example, mobile portability, right, devices, applications going from old Silverlight and all those technologies which was patented to work on certain dedicated hardwares, to applications which are multi-device, multi-portal. So now everything that is designed from the web application to the mobile application runs on iOS or Android or any cross-platform. So which basically means that if you are trying to deploy a data collection for O&M process, let's say SV maintenance or some activity in the field, you don't have to really give a mobile device to your vendor. So the vendors already have their own mobile devices. It's just that credentials you supply, and they are capturing the data on mobile devices, which come straight into your system rather than capturing on hard copies, which later get digitized, then fed into system. So the delay of the data flowing into the system is actually now it's real time using mobile application. So if you notice here, all these CP data collection, SR maintenance, DRS monthly maintenance, route patrolling, all these are existing processes of city gas, which we have basically tried to replace the paper with mobile applications, and which is basically resulted in a real time data flowing into the system. I'll just so this is just sample applications which we or a beta you can call it. We basically put together some GAs, and there are some 239 odd GAs which are supposed to be kind of integrated together. Okay, well, this comes up, I think, okay. Sorry, yeah, I think I've lost the internet. Anyways, so what I was trying to show is this is, is it still working or not? So I'm just wrapping. So this is basically the web applications, and these are the different modules that have been created with reference to the existing process. All those processes are now GS enabled, GS GPS enabled in a way, and the implementation with IGL and MNGL is almost identical, except some modules are plus or minus. So this is their preventive maintenance. I think I can click on show data. So I'm able to see this data set. So all their CP etc. It's all kind of maintained in this. So earlier it was, let's say, flowing in some existing way, be it paper or paper getting scanned and digitized, or some Excel sheet etc. The value that you get here is we are trying to automate those through a mobile app, and basically the turnaround, SLA, incident response, other value addition through this. I'd like to summarize now. Thanks so much. Any questions? Good.
Any question? No question? Now, Mr. Suryaprakash, what is the accuracy which we can achieve right now through the system?
So when you are laying the pipeline or when you are planning, the actual accuracy on ground, I mean, possible is 20 millimeters, except I think even if you go centimeter, and if you're burying a TF of this size, you want to be fairly accurate. So that 20 centimeter or 30 centimeter is good enough. If you're going for a so typically is in a cross country, the dia itself is 24 inch. So if you're taking 1 meter inaccurate also, you'll know you'll find the pipeline there. But in a city gas, because your valve, TF, pipe, etc., you should be able to dig it with accuracy. So that's why you should take an accuracy of 20 centimeter.
No, particularly when you're talking about like cities, Delhi or Bombay and
Yes,
all, you have the, I mean, space is the limitation. So you'll see that by the side of the road, you will have a telephone wire, electric cables, water pipe and all that, gas pipe and all that. So there really accuracy is important.
Yes, sir.
That is one. And then when Srivastava is here, last time the state government was behind us when it's IGL, that you give the total parameter, and they are asking from all the utility companies, not only the IGL, but whether it is a power or it is a water agencies, that you give all the data, and their concept was that we will set up a control room, which is dial before you dig, so that you can avoid the third party damage. I do not know what sort of a progress has happened later on.
Implementing for us. So the PNG domestic customers and pipelines and the CNG station, it is already mapped.
So I'll tell you, sir, what when you are capturing that data, whether it is during your construction or during your survey. So the point I was trying to make is, when you have laid your pipeline and if you have captured your data with accuracy, so you will not have to recur the cost of survey. But if you have laid your pipeline and somewhere the data got lost, then you have a cost of survey. Now, if you are going for a survey, or if you are going for construction guys to capture the data, and you tell them we want 20 centimeter accuracy, with the data coming in, they also give you an offset these days. So that's so when you're writing the tender scopes or the specification, that is where it matters. So capturing offset is like, if I draw a line and then with the line I say this is here it is an offset of 2.5 meters. So it means that from let's say school boundary to here, after 2.5 or 2.3 meters, your pipeline is located here. So capturing an offset just makes the data much better. Otherwise, I don't know, but I would say 90% of people who have seen doing GIS basically have taken a CAD drawing and drawn the line on Google and superimposed saying this is my map. But when
I don't agree on that statement. People do have offset in all their drawings, whether it is new or old and all those things. I think the offset is the practice which is going on for last
Long
15
time.
years.
Right. So
20 years.
let's say if it is Gale or it's ONGC or somebody who established, that's what. But I'm talking about, I have visited some people, that's what I'm saying. When they say GIS implemented, for them it's a simple, so typically you have a CAD drawing done by MDP or as built, and based on that they do sketching. I mean, recent experience was with Maharashtra Gas.
The point is, do you have any provision in the software that will compensate the offset?
So it will not compensate, it will highlight it, because when you overlay the data and all kinds of data, whether it is connected, not connected, hanging, if your line diagram says this is how logical settlement is, and otherwise all those are kind of built in, right? But compensating it will not do. It will give you the inaccuracies, it will give you the incorrectness of it as to where, how, but it will not compensate for it.
Correct method for, suppose we have laid the pipeline 10 years back. So what is your suggestion? What is the correct method for implementation?
So because you have not captured the data, then the only way to capture that data will be to assign a survey task which will take into consideration GPR and other methods, and they will go for a total station and other things.
So that is the manual process, na?
That is a manual
So
process.
there may be chances of error also.
Yes, sir. That's why QC validation is required. That is why somebody is capturing the data and a second person should be doing the audit or validation. But when you combine all of it together, then inaccuracies will never be reported. It will just be cited. But I think in cases where we are working, I think the customer themselves are taking precautions. For example, in IGL's case, there is a survey party going for an area. Then there is a control room in charge assigned with that. So it's a SPOC assigned along. So when they are taking it, he's also doing some sample, because trying to sit in our offices and do it once and at the end of the job will be very humongous. So parallelly, when the survey is ongoing, one person is assigned, so to ensure that he's taking the right and the in a way ensuring that supervision kind of thing. And when it comes to us, we will obviously the system will validate and it will be kind of sent back. They will correct it, send it back. So there are 9-10 times of reiteration.
So that is my point. How system will validate the data?
Since in terms of the logics, it will validate. But in terms of, for example, certain there are certain places where logics are kind of deviated. So we take acceptance. So we will be working with the customer only, because he knows his assets best, and he knows if there was a project assigned, this was the lines is not supposed to be like this, but we take a deviation and all that. So those are kind of built in with that.
The data, they are also mapped in a spatial format, meaning
Yes, sir. There is a standard data model for utility, which is kind of typically like pods is used for your cross country. There is a utility data model. Within that data model, before we kind of begin, we know what all system exists, whether it's SCADA, whether it is your AMR or SAP or ERP, whatever, and incident reporting, etc. So all those parameters are kind of fed in that.
In my, suppose there are residential complexes, say 20-story high, so that data too is recorded, pipeline
Right,
going
sir.
on that line.
Right, sir. So I think so. Typically, if what we so I mentioned, the BP, that is the customer, is actually married to a TF. Why? Because in a 20-story building, if you want to take an accurate accurate reading for each of those customers, the long lat value I'm talking about, that means you'll have to go with a 3-dimensional GIS application yourself, which means I do a 3D of Delhi city, suppose, which will be huge in cost, and the benefits are not in sync. So for us, the TF becomes our accurate value, and from the TF, the BP is married. So when you search for a BP to go and service him, you actually get the location of a TF, and navigation and other purposes are solved. Except the 3D mapping is much more costlier, and that ROI is not there. So that's why most people will not implement. But it can be done. Technically, it is possible.
Normally, so that is not done in normally.
Normal, no, sir.
What about the crossings which would be there for the pipelines which are going underground, or?
All those will be accurate, because those are the vital assets. Those will be accurate. Your TF is accurate by 20 centimeter.
So are we locating only the TFs or the pipeline too?
No, sir. Pipeline also, as well as TF also. But I'm saying that when you get into a customer point, that is not accurate. Rest of all the assets are accurate but on that data.
One point, just suppose we are using this E3 software for our CGD application like PNG, CNG and other. So do you have any provision? Can we get any other information or any other analytics or any other preventive measures like traffic and other safety aspects?
Absolutely, sir. So within this application only, the point I was trying to mention is that the first endeavor was to have everything about assets mapped to a GIS system. The second point was try to see what all data within these data model can be achieved from existing systems, so we are not replacing a system. The second is if there is no system in place, then we put a system in place to capture this additional input. Once we have all this data in place, then that's where this preventive analytics and CP and maintenance monitoring. So right now, automated alerts are going out for conditional maintenance and preventive maintenance, serial maintenance. Those are all going based on the data only. We have seen that, let's say there's a monthly maintenance and monthly maintenance is due on so and so. So the database actually shoots off an email to a control room in charge. That is already happening as a practice. But I think there is still a lot to be done within the O&M space. So I think this 7-8 applications what we have done is already being used. About MNGL because they are they have just started. So it's easier to implement things there. Compared to IGL where certain people are following certain practice and they'll have to let go of that old practice and adopt this. So I think in their case, in MNGL's case, the mobile apps are used by their O&M vendors to complete the daily task, SV maintenance, SR maintenance, whatever. And the beauty of it is it captures image, it captures data, and it captures his location. So whether he was there or not, or is he just feeding or banking on the old data. Typically in the meter reading cases, we have seen that the vendor does not visit and still he is billing you whatever 20 rupees or whatever it is without actually going to the location. So in the maintenance O&M cases also, it allows for accountability and transparency to know if my vendors are actually doing on those locations or they are just that way. So I think in all it's bringing in that transparency.
Mr. Surya Prakash,
Thank you,
it was a nice presentation.
Thanks.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Our last presentation is by Mr. Millos. Am I pronouncing correctly? Yes. Millos. He is from Agility and I think he has flown in last night only from Germany. Our special thank to him to take up the presentation today. Thank you very much, sir, especially. And
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Miłosz Szymaniak. Sorry for the difficult Polish surname. I was born and raised in Poland and I moved to Norway in 2010, so almost 10 years ago, and I started to work for the Hexagon Composites, which is the mother company for the Agility Fuel Solutions. Agility is the American company playing around alternative fuels, mainly for the heavy duty, so for buses and the trucks, which is again owned by Hexagon Composites, which is the Norwegian company. The Agility vision basically is to deliver the product which is supporting the cleaning the air, especially in the cities, which is of course crucial problem for developing countries and also for India. And the mission is basically to make a difference in the transportation. We always try to provide a solution which is cost efficient, which is safe, lightweight, and of course providing the opportunity to clean air always when you utilize the heavy duty vehicle. Just a short summary of the company. We do everything what you can call the alternative fuel. So we have CNG, hydrogen, BEV, FCV, so the hydrogen, also the propane in US. The company started already in 1963. Our company, called at the time Lincoln Composites in Lincoln, Nebraska, started to manufacture composite cylinders already in 1963. So we have more than 50 years of the history. We have the market one position on the market. We are established. We have around 80% of the market in US and 75% of the market, transit market in Europe. We have around 500 people, which is roughly 50% of the headcount of the entire Hexagon group. We have delivered products to over 40,000 vehicles, and we have manufactured also over 10 million cylinders, including low pressure cylinders for the propane. When you look at the global footprint, I'm located personally in Norway, in Raufoss, roughly 2 hours north driving from Oslo. Our facility in Norway is called Agility Fuel Solutions Norway again, and our main activity today, which is roughly 90% of our time, is to support transit market in Europe. Headquarters for the entire Agility is located in Costa Mesa, so west coast of United States. Our technological and hydrogen center is located in Kelowna in Canada. The latest facility focused on assembly of the systems for the buses and the trucks is located in Salisbury, east and south of US. And the most important facility for us, which is manufacturing actually all of the cylinders today, is located in Lincoln, Nebraska, so in the middle of US. We will, because of the growing demand in Europe, we will also bring the new facility manufacturing the cylinders to Kassel in Germany. We will have the cylinder for the buses and trucks. They're operational, say, beginning of the next year. And we also have plans together with the company in India, Advantech, to have more activities in India, including the assembly and the cylinder supply from India in 2 to 3 years from now, assuming, of course, that our forecasts for market demand are as we plan. When you look at our customers, mainly they are OEMs, so companies manufacturing buses and the trucks. The exception for that would be US, because in US there are many companies utilizing the equipment, meaning the fleets such as UPS and FedEx, which are actually purchasing the equipment directly from the supplier. So the main customer for us in US would be UPS. As for me in Europe, 100% of our customers are OEM related customers. You can see that you have the largest names in the industry. From my isolated, again, European perspective, the most important customer is the Volkswagen Group, so MAN and Scania. The other are Iveco and Solaris from Poland, and also we have cooperation with few customers in Turkey, such as BMC, Karsan, Otokar, and Temsa. We have also supplied few systems to Marco Polo in Latin America. We also have a cooperation with MAN in South Korea. Same with Indonesia. So in short, we are all over the place. Until today, the biggest obstacle for us in order to grow more in the developing markets was basically lack of presence. And this is what we try to address in India. We have identified a company, again, Advantech, which is supporting us here, and we do hope that we can grow in India rather fast for the next 2 to 3 years. The key knowledge and the key product for us is, of course, the Type 4 cylinder. So we are the largest manufacturer of Type 4 cylinders. We are also the second largest purchaser of carbon fiber, just after Airbus. So Airbus will do the first one, the second is Hexagon, and the third one will be Boeing. So we are large in terms of purchasing power. We have also cost competitive price on the carbon fiber, both on the material and the manufacturing. The second part of the business is, of course, and this is the key for the agility, is the system. So we have more than 20 years experience in terms of systems assembly, both for the buses and the trucks. And we are talking about the distribution trucks, garbage, so the waste trucks, and long haul trucks. And 2 years ago, we have also started to actually convert engines for CNG and propane in US. So as you can see, we are quite well vertically integrated to support the alternative fuel markets. As mentioned before, we have everything in terms of alternative fuels. So we have CNG and LNG, propane, hydrogen, and hybrid and electrics. However, because of the natural gas is the most effective and competitive solution for the heavy duty industry, I would say that 70 to 80% of our turnover today is related to CNG. A few words about the markets we are serving. So in US, 80% of our market would be truck, and that's long-haul truck. Because in US there is no limitation on the length for tractor and the trailer, we have enough space to put the systems and the cylinders between the tractor and the trailer, and that's the core business for us. For different markets such as Europe, we would put the system between the axle because of the length limitation. We also have the refuse, and again in US you would normally put the system on the rooftop, as for different parts of the world, including Europe, you would have the system between the axles. For the buses, basically 100% of the market in Europe is low floor or low entry city bus. So we have all of the systems we are delivering them are put on the rooftop. It is why Type 4 is becoming very popular. And as mentioned, also in US we have applications for the smaller vehicles running on CNG and LPG. This I think you know very well. So we believe that Type 4 is the most advanced and the best solution for the heavy-duty industry, not only because it's the lightest and the safest solution, but also because of the manufacturing processes. Type 4 is the easiest to change in terms of size. So when you need the flexibility for different applications, it's easiest to change the size and the volume of the cylinder when you are utilizing Type 4 cylinder. In order to succeed on this market, especially on the developing markets, when the purchase cost is important, it's not only sufficient to suggest to switch from Type 1 to Type 4, because when you substitute the Type 1 cylinder with the same size of the Type 4 cylinder, then the cost is becoming ridiculously high, to be honest. So you need to be smarter, and you need to engineer a solution which is effective and which is also easy to maintain. And here is the case study which is showing how we've addressed actually the city bus system from India by smart engineering. So we had a system with 9 Type 1 cylinders, and we've been able to provide the same gas volume only with 2 cylinders bolted on the aluminum frame. By doing so, we have reduced the weight of the system for almost 1,000 kilograms. And we have reduced the number of the cylinders from 9 to 2, and because of that we have been also able to reduce significantly number of the items related to the plumbing, so the leakage points, the structure parts, and the mounting bolts. So again, by smart engineering, we've been able to introduce actually Type 4 system for the city bus in India with the product which was still imported from US. So when you look at the total cost of the logistics, it was definitely not the preferred solution. However, still we were able to compete with the domestic solution for CNG storage. A few slides about Europe. So until 2017, 2018, we have seen rather stable growth on the CNG or the biogas market space for the transit buses in Europe, mainly because diesel hybrid was still treated as the clean solution. So when there were municipalities trying to find a solution which is cheaper than the pure diesel application, they were focused on hybrid diesels, which was easiest for them to introduce. However, last year in 2019, the European Commission have introduced the legislation which is called 2030 Clean Vehicle Directive. This directive is mandating the public procurement to be clean and is excluding diesel hybrid from the clean or low emission solution. So in order to claim that your fleet is operating on the low emission or clean fuel, you need to have a hydrogen, a battery electric, or the biogas. And the minimum ratio from 2025 for this would be 33 to 66% of the purchase, and from 2030 minimum 75% of the public procurement for the city buses have to be clean. So again, at least 75% of the buses sold in Europe from 2030 will be hydrogen, battery, or biogas. Because fleets do not have enough capital to make a switch in 1 year, they have already now started to change the fleet to clean vehicle. So between 2018 and 2019, just our company We have seen 60% of the growth in the business market space in Europe. This year we will have the same growth ratio. And in addition, from end of last year, we have started to deliver hydrogen systems for the serial demand in Europe for the city buses. Again, the most important customers, Iveco probably would be the OEM with the widest spread of the portfolio related to CNG. They have basically everything from medium duty to high duty running on CNG, including trucks. Scania probably is the highest quality product in Europe today on the transit space. 80% of what they are selling is chassis, 20% is a city bus. And chassis is quite important for us because they tend to supply the chassis to different markets, including Asia. So by having only customers such as Scania with the chassis implemented, we have a chance to open different markets from Europe. And the last but not least, MAN, probably with the longest history related to CNG on the buses, over 25 years. They are the largest in Europe today. I think they together with Scania, they own 55% of the market for CNG buses. And they also have a good quality product. However, they do not have a CNG truck today in Europe, which is quite disappointing, to be honest. The product which we are selling for transit, again, is the system which is mounted on the rooftop. You would normally have anything between 3 to 5 longitudinal cylinders mounted by the necks. We do not like straps because they require maintenance, so we've changed the entire portfolio to the neck mount cylinder. We have light cylinders, it is why we want to have a light frame, so all of our systems in Europe are based on a fully aluminum frame. We also have the solenoid valves. The system presented here is ECR 110 approved. So we have solenoid valves. We have 3 PRDs per cylinder in order to protect the cylinder in case of fire. And we also have the single piping, 8mm piping, which is connected then to the filling port. And there was a discussion today about filling capabilities with Oasis. We have a piping which is allowing to fill 1,500 system under 6 minutes. So we have capabilities to support fast fill ratio, which is needed for a high number of the buses in the fleet. To be honest, the fastest I have seen for 1,260 liter was 4 minutes. That was the cold gas, but I think that was in Norway. But they filled the bus in about 4 minutes. With NGV2 nozzle, of course. We have been playing around with roof packs for 25 years, so we have developed a system which is basically able to be implemented to any low floor or low entry bus globally. We have a system and capabilities in our company to adjust the frame design to meet rooftops of many OEMs, because all of the rooftops are different. And also because we have introduced 2 years ago new cylinder for the hydrogen application, we wanted to make sure that we want to make a switch from CNG to hydrogen for our customers as easy as possible. So the picture on the right bottom side is presenting the hydrogen system, which to be honest, with Solaris is introduced on the same rooftop as the CNG bus. So we have capabilities to quite easily switch from CNG to hydrogen when it's needed. From what I've heard, there are different volume requirements in terms of gas on the rooftop. So normally in Europe, for the 12-meter bus, you would have anything between 1,000 to 1,300 liters. For the 15-meter bus, you would go for 1,500 liters, and for 18 meters, so the articulated bus, standard system for us would be 5 times 340 liter, so 1,700 liters. We have capabilities to provide up to 1,875 with the single frame. However, if there's the requirement of 2,000 plus liters, we also have smaller transversal cylinders, which we could implement to the same rooftop. just few words about the hydrogen system. So we supply today's systems to Solaris from Poland and to Caetano in Portugal. Solaris have won a few tenders actually now. So the first one they have is in Bolzano in Südtirol in Italy for 12 buses. They have now this week actually won the tender in Cologne and Wuppertal. So in total we will supply around 50 systems just to Solaris in 18 months. The second company, Caetano from Portugal, is now getting ready for the SOP for hydrogen bus, and we expect also around 40 to 50 systems with them in say 18 months as well. So I think the last year and this year are the first time when hydrogen bus system in Europe is becoming actually the serial product, not only the prototype as it used to be until today. And probably the last slide, it is the product or the project we are really proud of, because it's not related to our roof pack systems, but it showed that Agility and Hexagon have capabilities to meet basically any CNG related demand for the buses. So this is the double-decker bus introduced in UK. We have delivered already 150 systems of these to Britain. As you can see, the system is actually mounted above the engine, the back of the bus. We were the only company in the world able to meet the requirements for the volume and the weight of the system. We have 1,030 liters in this system, 250 bar, and the weight of the system is only 577 kilograms without the gas. With the gas at 250 bar. Any other competitor with Type 3 and Type 4 solution was at least 150 kilograms behind us. So great success in UK for this product, and we are currently working to discuss with the municipalities such as Hong Kong maybe to introduce similar biogas or hydrogen related products for their fleet if or when they require more driving distance than the battery driven bus is able to provide them. Okay, thank you.
Any question, please?
Sorry.
EU notification of 2019.
Yeah.
So does it include LNG also?
Yes, but it's not related. It has to be bio LNG, so it has to be based on the biogas.
Basically, my question is based on there is a NGO by the name of Transport and Environment in EU.
Now the legislation is called Clean Vehicle Directive.
No, what I'm asking,
Yep.
there is a report by a NGO
Okay.
by the name of Transport and Environment. And the report says the on-road tests show gas trucks up to 5 times worse for air pollution.
Yes, and
They
we.
have urged the EU to, the conclusion says the gas industry is desperate to convince the policymakers that gas trucks have a climate benefit because they want to grow their market. The simple fact is that it's a fossil fuel, just like oil and coal, so it needs to be phased out. So
Yes,
I
and
just wanted to understand the credibility
I know.
of this NGO.
I know.
You are from that union.
Yeah.
You are from Europe. So how credible that report
I
is?
think your question should remain to what he has presented.
No, I can address the question. I will be careful with the answer, but no, but I know what kind of report you are talking about, and it was widely discussed within the industry, and we believe, we claim that this report is a lie, and it was lobbied by someone. We don't know who is that, and we can claim this because we are not focused on CNG only. We are okay always when you are talking alternative fuel. And we know, and OEM knows, when you compare the Euro 6 diesel truck to Euro 6 LNG truck, then the LNG truck is emitting much less. And in this report, they have actually compared Euro 5 LNG truck to Euro 6 diesel truck. So the truck presented there, the LNG, is one of the first generation LNG trucks, and they have compared the older LNG truck to the latest diesel Euro 6 truck, and it is why you have the difference in the emissions there. So we disagree with this report.
I have a few questions. related to the cylinder. What is the testing frequency of these cylinders?
We
Please use your mic because I think it is not audible at this place.
What is the testing frequency, retesting frequency of your?
So the Type 4 cylinder is the only cylinder which is able to survive 20 years only with visual array inspection. So we do not require hydraulic retesting of the cylinder. And we recommend to go with the visual array inspection. We provide the manual how to do that every 36 to 48 months.
Every 36 to 48
Yes.
months?
So
Visual.
so you basically look at the cylinder, and as long as there is no crack or there is no damage seen on the surface cylinder, you basically are okay to go.
In case you do find some defect, are there limits which are specified?
Yes, we have the manual which is showing the requirements or the minimum and the maximum damage which we can tolerate for the cylinder. And if, for example, the scratch is deeper than the requirement, then you need to change the cylinder.
That is your recommendation?
Yes.
Or is it a recommendation of some standard?
Now, EC is saying that manufacturer is responsible to have these recommendations. So we have the manual with the pictures and with the clear description of the damages which you can accept. And once you excess these limits, you have to change the cylinder.
Can you repair those defects?
We do not repair the cylinders normally. It's safer to take it from the field.
How many of those cylinders have been taken out of service during, say, since when they were manufactured?
Well, we have delivered 10 million cylinders in total, both low pressure and high pressure. That's all Type 4. So I cannot tell you. I just don't know how many cylinders are not operating anymore.
Have you faced any accidents of any sorts in your cylinder?
We, of course, have the accidents because these cylinders are running all over the place. But we haven't seen any accident or any damage because of the bad quality or bad design of the cylinder.
There are certain reports which say faster depressurization can create problems in these cylinders. Are you aware of those?
Yeah, and we believe that there are the only restrictions I have seen actually are related to very first cold, we call it the cold fill. So when you have a first fill of the cylinder, Type 4 cylinder, we recommend to not fill when there is or when the temperature is lower than minus 17 or 18 degrees, I think. We have it in the manual, so I don't remember the exact number. Then we recommend to go slow with the filling, but beyond that, there are no other restrictions between type or different than Type 1 and Type 4 cylinder.
Thank you.
What is the life of this cylinder?
The life is mandated by EC 110 or by the legislation, so in Europe that's 20 years. However, we have seen applications in which our cylinders have survived up to 30 years. Also, we have had a project which is called a hydraulic hybrid, and in this application we have seen that cylinder have no issue with surviving over 1 million cycles.
So the average life is supposed 20 years.
Yeah.
On which standard you have defined that there is no need for revalidation or hydro-testing?
The EC is saying that. So the European legislation is saying that Type 4 cylinder do not require hydraulic retesting.
So that is applicable for whole world or only for European standards? Because the temperature and pressure, everything you have defined, according to that you have defined the life.
No, both in Europe, so under EC and NGV2, right, Aaron? You don't need hydraulic retesting for the Type 4 cylinder. You need it for Type 1 to Type 3, but not for Type 4. Because the main difference between even Type 3 and Type 4 is the liner. So we have no metal liner, we have a plastic liner, which is capable of handling fatigue in a much better way than any steel or aluminum liner. It is why we are not challenged with the cycles, so we don't require hydraulic retesting.
So where do you get the first test? In which lab you get the first test? The type approval test.
In which companies?
Yeah.
So we use many different, but the main for us would be PowerTech in Canada today.
So they certified the life is 20 years
Yes.
on that paper?
Yes, we have the cylinders which have the certifications of the approval, which is saying the cylinder is according to and is approved to EC or NGV2, or is CCO in India, by the way. And by this legislation, you can use cylinder for 20 years.
Thank you.
Any other
So
question?
when you have started the manufacturing the first year?
We have started to let's call it play around with the composites in 1963, and the cylinder we are discussing today, so we call it the tough shell Type 4 cylinder, was introduced in 1993. So we are the only company in the world with 25 years lifetime already of the product on the market.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other question, please? Yeah, please.
I have one question, and precisely, do you have any operation in India? Any operation in India? Or
Yes.
any plan of manufacturing this cylinder in India?
I would say that we have advanced plans related to the assembly of the systems, and we are discussing manufacturing opportunities.
But Nikos, it is, everybody understands the importance of the type 3 or type 4 cylinders, but the cost is one of the criteria. So
Yep.
once what he's talking about, in case you start manufacturing here in India, so naturally we expect the cost should come down, and only then the popularity. Secondly, in India, the popularity of the long haul buses, use of that for CNG, and then trucks on the CNG, that's
Yep.
yet to start fully. Maybe in operational, under study, maybe not really in it. Once that come into the picture, definitely your cylinders use and all that will improve a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For making presentation, and thank you, Milos. With that, we come to the end of this session's presentation, but before I close, I'll request the chair to share his wisdom and past experience and advice to the forum, not for this session, but as a O&M, city gas person, all along, for any kind of subject which you feel that people should take care in their life and in city. And we have Mr. Narendra Kumar, who has such a wide experience. I mean, so please.
Thank you very much, Chittoda ji. First of all, I would like to thank Vivek Joshi ji, Chittoda ji, who has given me the opportunity to interact with you all people. And this is the first time, though they are planning since long to have a good O&M workshop. This is the fourth one, but during this workshop, I think a lot of new ideas, new topics, and particularly the little bit about the new technologies has really come up. And I'm really happy to see all the detail which has been given here, that they started with the CGD challenges, particularly CEO forums, and after the 4th, 9th round and 10th round, a lot of challenge has come to the CGD industry, and you'll find the people have really bid in a very aggressive manner. So achievement of this parameter, whether it is inch diameter, kilometer of the pipeline, or it is so much PNG connection, or it is so much CNG stations is setting up, is really a big challenge. Until we are not having any new technology, so without new technologies and with maybe in case you want to reduce the investment, so it can be achieved within a little bit less time. So all these new ideas has to really come, and these are the forum when we can learn from each other. So though I am not when I compare myself with you people who are sitting, maybe in CGD industry, you might be working since last 20 years, 25 years, 15 years, 10 years. I am the person who has worked only in CGD for the 4 years, 3.5 years as the MD of IGL, and now with the Torrent Gas, which last 1 year. So not much, but of course, my whole of the life I have been in the pipeline industry. So I have worked for almost 10 years with IFCO and then 28 years with GAIL. And particularly I have been in the pipeline division. So naturally the cross-country pipeline, their pipeline integrity, checking them against the corrosion, cathode protection implementation, all these things, I have been involved in the particularly NACE for a long time. So considering all these things, because that knowledge is really required when you are working in CGD, so you need a knowledge of pipeline integrity, you need a knowledge of like instrumentation, and we faced a lot of problem in IGL. Srivastav is here when I joined a lot of gas reconciliation problem, and I think we all, Chittadaji also that time. So these are the challenges which keep on coming for CGD industry and will be in future also, because there is not a ready-made solution. So everybody has to go for the latest technology, everybody has to take it seriously, everybody has to devote the time. Because I remember when IGL, the reconciliation, our losses has increased very high. So I have to take the meeting almost with all the HODs every week, and then slowly start coming. We start, checking all the pipelines on weekly basis, checking the meters, finding the faults, removing the theft wherever it is possible, industrial, commercial, and all that. So once you start working into the detail, you are able to find the solution. So almost all the topics which has really been considered in a serious way, gas reconciliation accounting has been considered. Then you are taking O&M practice, very much it is really required. And once I talk about the maintenance of the pipeline, maintenance of the walls and all that, this is a live example here that our pipeline, which is the Gale pipeline, HVJ pipeline, was laid near in 1987. And we have completed so many 35 years and all. On the main trunk line, even not a single leak has taken place. So this pipeline is as new as the pipeline which is maybe 2 years back has been laid. That has been because of the proper maintenance, because of using the latest technology, because of proper adopting the proper practices and all that. In the same way, one of the pipeline which may be observing, that Desu Maruti pipeline. This pipeline is almost 25 years old, more than 25 years old. Now has been handed over from the GAIL to IGL. So this pipeline is, we have gone for health checkup of that pipeline. You find pipeline was excellent in condition. Though now there is a lot of encroachment over the pipeline. So the parallel pipeline is being laid and all that, not because of the health of the pipeline, but because of the encroachment over the pipeline and all. So these were the problems. So my only request is that we have to learn each and everything, that CGD is basically the area where you need the knowledge of everything. It is not whether you need a knowledge of compressor, you need the pipe, you need the instrumentation, you need the metering, and we are talking about the GIS, about the cylinders, high pressure, low pressure, 3-stage compressor, 4-stage compressor. When you want to run on MDP, you want to run on steel, you want to run maybe on high pressure, so that you can go for the 2-stage compressor in place of the 4-stage or 3-stage, so that you can reduce the loss. And now the new idea which our colleague has given the presentation about the LCNG, as I was talking in the morning itself, because now in the 9th round and 10th round, the source of the gas is little bit away. The gas pipeline which is originating is out of our own GA. So naturally, before entering to our own GA, you will find sometime laying the 50-kilometer pipeline, sometimes the 100-kilometer pipeline and all that. It takes the time, it takes a lot of investment. So those are solutions going for LCNG and all that. These are the one of the solution we can think in future. And I think these companies will be forced to think of. And this, I am already talking like Think Gas, they are already making this CNG business, LNG business in like Bhopal, I understand. And then other places, the Torrent will be thinking, other companies are also thinking in this direction. So these are the platforms which provide the knowledge, the discussion, new ideas are being generated. And best of thing is that we, come to know about each other. Who is working where, what sort of a business you are doing, what sort of a new technology you are using, what sort of a new equipment you are using, where, who has supplied, what is the cost company, everything you can share at this forum and learn from each other. So I think it was a very good experiment, and I really congratulate Mr. Joshi and Mr. Chittoda. I request them to continue to increase this. The maybe frequency can be increased, and they are very fond of about Delhi. I will request them to shift to some other location, go to south side, go to the north side, west side, east side, and all that, so that the people from the different location can also participate and contribute. Thank you very much.
Before we end and we call for a formal closure and vote of thanks and distribution of mementos, now I want to listen from audience. What is your feedback on the workshop for the 2 days which we have spent together over here? What is the advice of yours to NGS and the organizer? And if you can be brief on that, it will be very helpful. And before you start, I would like to add one more word, that this workshop would not have been possible without the support of three main people. Mr. Murli, who is not here right now, from MGL. Mr. Raman Srivastav, who is here. Thank you, Raman. And Mr. Bhandari, who was here, for supporting us and giving idea and giving shape to this. My special thank to you people. And now I leave it to the house in whatever way you want to contribute to make this workshop better in future, or your feedback, please tell us. And yeah, or any question if you had on previous session where you want some kind of answer from the forum or from the audience, it's welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Regarding the feedback, I would like to say this. Sorry?
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name is Jignesh Agrawat, and I'm from Torrent Gas, basically. I'm coming from Gujarat. And regarding the feedback, I would like to say that there was a very informative and interactive sessions we had in last 2 days. Especially we touched upon many areas. Those are the key areas of the CGD business, wherein we dealt with day-to-day problems, and then we also discussed the solution from various stakeholders. My only suggestion would be, rather than only discussing the solutions, if we are able to make up some group who can take a follow-up on the issues which we discussed, all the solutions which we discussed, and probably, say for the example, yesterday we had many suggestions to form a group and take the feedback from the people, and then those team has to work on those to resolve those issues later on, and then we can take a follow-up from the people, or maybe we can present in the next session what was discussed and what is the today's status. That would be better for all of us. That is one thing. Second thing, I just wanted to share that, say for the example, to protect the interest of the electricity company, there is an Electricity Act which empower the organization, which empower the electricity company, state electricity company, to use that act to protect their rights. Say for the example, if there is a theft, there is a clause in those act, and they can use those clause to make a FIR against the people. I have seen for CGD industries, those awareness are not there. People are taking CGD companies and CGD networks very casually. Yesterday, almost all of us discussed that the municipal corporations or any contractors are damaging our assets very casually. They don't care. They sometimes damage and run away without informing to the company. My concern is it's not only a damage to the asset, but it also a safety issue that can lead to an catastrophic, the incident which can cause to the life of the people. So there has to be a law in a place which protects our rights and which protects our assets. So my sincere request to the people who are here is to present this to the government, because they are enforcing, the development of the CGD business in India. So at the same time, we have to raise our issue to them, and we have to tell them to come out with something which protects our rights. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your feedback. We'll keep working on that. But there is an O&M committee where there are people nominated from various organizations. Torrent is not represented from that. We have from MGL, Mr. Murli, and from IGL, Mr. Bhandari, and we have one person from Gujarat Gas also nominated, and one person from MNGL was nominated to take care of all these things, and rather two persons who has now joined Mahesh Gas Limited. So with this reorientation and people shifting from one to another, that committee become kind of a non-operative. We will request the senior people present here that please nominate people so that a more deliberated, concentrated effort can go into a particular subject and we pursue then thereafterwards with various authority. A very good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Sir, I'd like to add one thing. With respect to the act that he was referring to, which gives us some powers, the PNGRB Act of 2006, clause 49 reads, punishment for willful damages to common carrier or contract carrier. It has the provision of imprisonment up to 3 to 5 years and fine extending up to 25 years. So wherever the third party damages are occurring in our GA, we are issuing the claim letter with this clause and we can
I'm
even
not
file a
debating,
fine.
I'm aware of that.
The
I'm
clause
not
is-
debating that over here.
Clause
His
is-
point is very right that whatever clauses is there, we are not able to implement it in the right spirit, and it is there in petroleum product. It's not applicable to natural gas, or there is a doubtful on that. So we have to pursue that. I understand that. I'm aware of.
Sir, actually, I agree with his point because आपको भी याद होगा sir, last time we found 2-3 theft. But if you go for any FIR or anything, there is no rule because in electricity, if any person found for theft, there is a stringent rule. So that is his point, and we have already discussed this point how to take up with the government
So
and that.
that's what I'm telling, that we are aware of that.
PNGRB Act doesn't say in case of theft what action you can take. In case of theft, because you have seen the study two industrial.
We let us not debate it. His suggestion is very correct. As of today, we have problem. Whatever provisions are there, we need to make it more consumable to us. So we have to work upon it. We agree to that. We all agree to that. Yeah. Please, any other suggestion?
Actually, one point just I wanted to raise here because yesterday some people were asking how to get connect with NGS because they are not related with CGD company like Tata Communication.
I think I have to call Mr. Joshi now. Sir, please come on the stage.
Because he was saying ki like if any company doesn't want to connect with you, if any individual wants to connect NGS, is there any procedure?
I think Mr. Joshi will answer when he comes on the dais. And anybody else has any other? So with that, I'll request Mr. Joshi to come and give us a vote of thanks from NGS side. And also, let us organize for a memento. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chittor. Before I go into this, it's normally called a vote of thanks, but it's my heartfelt thanks. But before I go into it, can I request Dr. Narendra Kumar to please present a memento of thanks on our behalf to all the speakers and the moderator. You are the person who will give to. No, it's okay, sir. We are not informal now. Oh, you have to go around me. Yes, yes. No, first Mr. Chittora, sir, is the moderator, please. Thank you, Dr. Narendra Kumar. It's an absolute pleasure. वो फिर नीचे नहीं आएंगे यार, यहीं पर ले लो। So, ladies and gentlemen, after 1.5 days of hard work, and not many of you, a lot of you joined, a lot of you didn't, our effort to make you feel easier last evening and to relax you. So, those of you who were here and those of you who were not, I hope you had a good sleep. We had a wakeful session, so nobody so far is actually drowsy. As one gets less younger, so the instant memory recall is what falters. So not that I know much of operations and maintenance, so I will use the FIFO model for my vote of thanks. First in, first out. So first was this session, or last in, first out. I'd like to thank Dr. Narendra Kumar for chairing, Mr. Chittora for moderating, and all speakers in the current session for their excellent presentations. I do hope you enjoyed it. I also take this opportunity to thank all the sponsors, GAIL, PIL, and CUGL, without whose contribution we would not have been able to put up this show. We are indeed very thankful. NGS is very thankful to all the dignitaries who were present and made the occasion memorable for us yesterday morning. We had the MDs of IGL, we had the doyen of the CGD industry, Mr. Rajiv Sharma, and we had Rajiv Mathur, Mr. Tripathi joining us. It was very nice of him to join. We like to record our thanks. And especially since he was actually going for a video conference first at 12 o'clock in the morning and then flying off to London. Mr. Ranganathan, Rajiv Mathur, all these people have been highly supportive, and their contribution to this conference has been much more than just being on the dais there. I would also like to especially thank Manoj Jain, because it was his first working day after assuming charge as Chairman and Managing Director of GAIL. And he was hard pressed, but he agreed and promised to give some time, and therefore came towards the end of the day just to make this address at our request. I would like to thank all the speakers, session chairs, moderators, delegates, participants who have spent so much time with us, and I hope it's been valuable for you. We would also like to thank all the companies who gave the nominations and reposed faith in the quality of our programs, and they nominated delegates in large numbers. I'd like to thank the team at NGS and our associate and service providers, DMAPR, for the show that we've been able to put up here for you. We hope it's been worthwhile and comfortable. I'd like to thank RIC, and as I said, whomever I thanked, it's okay. Whom I forgot to thank is because of my fading memory. So you will forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. have a good day, have a good lunch that we're having here, and farewell, and see you at the 5th annual O&M conference, if not earlier. Thank you very much. Have a good day. God bless us all. Farewell.